so you know I'm the head of the Denim Foundation, so we talked a bit yesterday about circularity. But for me, innovation is also in my heart because I drive also product and innovation for big brands in Europe. So I know it's a very key factor how we can still strive business and bring innovation in a merchandising range plan. So that's going to be the topic of today. The topic is really innovation under pressure. So we have amazing guests here on stage representing. I'm not going to start again the introduction. But what is interesting for me here, we have two different continents, North America and Europe. We have different brands bracket, if I will call it. Also different consumers, Gen Z, more mature, European, very well-known brands in Europe. So it's interesting to see from their length, their vision, how they can drive innovation for their specific market, specific consumers. So it will be interesting to see how we can do that. Before jumping in the questions, I need to remember the questions, just to set up a little bit the scene because, innovation under pressure. So the last decade, I would say, or even longer, the denim industry face big disruptions and big pressure coming from different angles and different directions. First one, it's the regulation framework, at least in Europe. It's a little bit heavy on brands, so how it's going to stimulate or not stimulate innovation. We have also these disruptions. The pandemic has been also dramatic for the brands and disrupt all the different supply chain, logistics we have to move. I'm not going to talk about Mr. Trump, but the Trump tariff, we have two US brands here on stage, not to put on the fire. Each time I put my phone on in the morning, what the hell he has said yesterday. But it's part of the landscape we are navigating. So how we take this pressure or this disruption, but how we transform it still into progress, because we need to move on. Yeah, I think we have no choice. Yeah, so that's for the setup. Yeah, first questions. I need to remember who I am. So first questions. It's an easy question. So we talk about innovation under pressure. For me, the first question I will have for you: which kind of pressure do you think are more relevant for you? Is it cost, whatever it is, but how do you feel? How it translates in your organization? And
cost is definitely the biggest one for me. Working for a teen brand, we really have to keep up with the other teen brands in the market. So the Hollisters, the Tillys, the Abercrombies. And then also consumer expectations, like TikTok, social media has been a huge game changer for our business. We've had a couple of jeans go viral, so we're definitely trying to keep up with the pressure of what's the next viral jean, like what do we need to do? And for me, I'm like, I can't make something go viral. So definitely consumer expectations and also wanting everything as quick as possible.
Speed to market.
Speed to market.
Something you feel the pressure. The calendar inside your calendars.
Exactly.
How many collections do you per year? Sorry, I'm asking.
4.
4 collections.
Yeah, and then we have a lot of special projects. So we have some premium lines, some other brands called Rare Denim Edit that we work on the side as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you. A very similar question, but most of the time. Hello. Yes, good. Most of the time, I've been in a brand. Merchandising range plan. It can be very heavy for designers. They come with very specific KPIs. Not to name one, the margin, the famous margin, everybody's talking about. So how you deal with that? How you can still introduce innovation in such a rigid framework? So who wants to take this one? Nikita? That will be interesting.
I kind of had to learn it from each company that I worked for, that every company has a different strategy. So in the current company I work for, we're very margin driven, so to implement an innovation is not always the easiest. But I learned also there's a lot of ways around it. If you start with a dialogue from the beginning to understand which innovation can work within your price frame and everything in your costing, and you can really think from a long-term perspective of saying, okay, from now on we're going to implement this innovation, we're going to really calculate the impact and everything, and if you have all the right partners at the table that can give their input, I do think it is possible. It's just, we have to think it from a different way than before. Before, I remember my first time I worked on denim, the first question every time my manager was asking, what's new? What's new in denim? Can you provide me new? And every season was exactly the same. And every time you had to come up with a different kind of innovation. And instead of thinking, now I feel much more comfortable proposing an innovation because we've been researching it for months before, we checked all of the angles, and then we can really implement it. So, yeah, that's how you go around the costing.
So it's not only capsule innovation, you try to find out also which innovation can continue along and to be implemented in your range plan, in your core.
Yeah, and for me also kind of see the costing more for me, because when you go to all the fairs, you see so many innovations. It's very, for a designer, quite overwhelming, because you need then also maybe your technical person next to you to say which ones are make sense, which ones don't make sense for the brand. But then for me, the costing also helps me. I don't immediately see it as a complete negative. I also see it can guide me into which ones actually work for my product. So.
All right, thank you. AUTARI, I come to you now, because yesterday we have good drinks together. It's true, huh?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we did, and we didn't know each other, so sometimes alcohol helps too. And during these drinks, you mentioned something important. I think it's important: the freedom of experimenting process. And sometimes it's very rare, you know, in a brand, so people have many excuses not to experiment. So how can you elaborate a little bit on that, this idea of experimentation?
I think, you know, every brands have their own stories, every brands have sort of line plans and everything. What I'm challenging my designers is always like, you know, every customer in the US has at least 6 to 7 pair of denim in their closet. Why they should buy what you're proposing? What is the emotion that your product give? Why the customer that already has so many denims need to buy this? So like if it's like a fabric innovation, it should be like visible and perceived by the customer. If it's a new wash or something that leans on the aesthetic, should be like bright and visible. So I think it's all about the balance.
But you have to take time also to experiment, to try. And sometimes you can fail, but you need to take this time of experimenting.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think a lot of it's a gut feeling. When we feel that something is new, we kind of know it. And then I think it's a designer job to push. And on the same side, make sure that your basic are well done and you hit your margin with your basic, and then push to have a space for novelty. Because the customer, especially the new customers, is striving for novelty, is looking for novelty. And I think it's all about balance.
A very similar question, but still to you. Sorry, I'm still focused on him. Do you think, because you're creative people, or your team are creative, so creativity and innovation mindsets, you need to have this freedom of space in an organization like you? I know sometimes you have the time pressure or whatever, but to find this freedom of space is important, I suppose. What do you think?
I think what is important is keeping fighting for what you want, for the aesthetic you want. Especially companies, sometimes they lack macro vision. We are in our small field, we know every fabric from top to bottom. We think that the small details makes difference when once you face the customer, the detail doesn't give anything novelty. Like there's been a research about the emotional feeling when a customer walks in the store. The first 30 seconds, they realize if there is something they want to buy, if there's something they don't want to buy, and they can leave the store after 30 seconds. So there must be something visual and impactful.
Thanks. Nikita, I would like to come back to you. Can you not explain, but how complex is it in Hugo Boss organization to launch an innovation? How Because, yeah, but...
Very good question, that one. Hugo Boss as a company is, the structure itself is quite complex, which is it depends how you perceive it, because for us it actually gives almost a safety blanket that there's always somebody going to say like, ah yeah, but what about that? So in a way it's good, because all of your innovations, all of your ideas are being checked from angles that I would even never think of. So I think in that point of view, I think it's quite strong to have at least that backup, that it goes through channels. On the other hand, you also have to jump through a lot of hoops to convince the people that this is something worth fighting for. And that is not always easy at the moment.
Because you have many stakeholders to convince, or there's many people involved in the
There's
decision?
a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people involved, but it's almost you become a bit a salesperson. So we usually, as designers, we work in the background on innovations that we believe in. And then when we have the product ready, we have all the information ready, and then we become the salesperson to the rest of the company, from sustainability to our manager to the marketing, to explain why this is a good initiative.
Okay, not easy.
Not easy, but not impossible.
Good. Continue like that. Another, it's more a reflection, because while I was discussing yesterday with many Denim mills here at the back door, and I was asking, what do you think about the market? How you drive innovation in your collections? How do you structure it? So Nicola, but why are we going to invest big capex on things? At the end of the day, brands asking for us for price. Because this conversation, I know I hope there is some Denim mills here in the audience, but this conversation is very important, because they have this feeling at the end of the day, it's a buying exercise. It's still a transaction. So what do you think about that? How we can expect them to invest and to bring new things in the market when the adoption from the brands, and we have this discussion, is going to be expensive, or is going to be a little bit more? Cara, can I ask you these questions? It's not an easy one, I know.
That's a really tough question. I feel lucky at PacSun because they are very, very focused on innovation and change. There's a big push to be the first brand to do the next thing. Coming back to cost, like we have a lot of really good testing strategies. So even if something is on the higher side, we'll still get a test in to get that speed to market, and then work on the back end to try and figure out a solve. But yeah, that's a tough question.
AUTARI, you have an opinion? Because you understand from their perspective, they are ready to invest sometimes, but they need a little bit visibility and commitment to make sure the market is in a way mature and ready to have this extra sense or whatever it is.
I think, well, Rag & Bone is a denim-focused company, so we do everything from like stretch fabric to selvage to digital print. I think the important thing is always building a strategy with your merchandising team, with your PD team, and with vendors to make sure that we kind of cover everything and we leave like space for novelty. And this space for novelty doesn't have to be necessarily margin-led, because this is the product that will attract people in the store. I think a lot of brick and mortar business, like stores facing business, they suffer when they don't have novelties, and I think it's important to work on strategy with both internally inside your company and with your vendors.
Okay, thank you. For Nikita, this one. How has the definition of innovation changed a little bit the last 5 years? Did you see a shift when we talk about innovation in the denim industry?
I see a shift also because everything that's been happening in the world, people are reevaluating what you actually want from your garment. So at least from my point of view, I think also should happen more is what Cara already said, is like from the consumer, to see it more from a consumer point of view, is the innovations that we're launching in our head, because we're so deep in the industry, it makes sense. But then when you ask your friends and family that have no idea about denim, does it actually make sense? Because I think most of the words that we use, most people don't even understand what they actually mean.
Shift if you see from the industry, from a consumer perspective, did you see a big shift happening the last 5 years?
From the consumer, I do think there is a drive, especially from the younger generation, to want to learn what it all means. But I think sometimes as a brand, we make it a bit too complicated how we explain it. Like if I explain to my, just an example, explain to my mom during Christmas about regenerative cotton. Oh my God, I thought her head was going to explode. She's literally looking at me like, but why is this so much better? Because her mindset is in her world like, I just need the jeans to do my daily business, and if I don't have that, what's the point? And then trying to explain then to a person that's not industry why this is important, that is still a kind of a missing link.
So the narrative or the storytelling about, we didn't prepare this question, but on product communication is extremely key, no? But do you have to explain, or do you think sometimes you can still bring an innovation and it's there and the consumer is not involved?
I don't really believe that you have to explain everything, especially like AUTARI said, as long they need to see the difference themselves already. Like if you have to explain it, maybe it's not visible enough.
Let me add something. I'm thinking always like when I design something, I'm thinking, of course, about myself, but I'm like, I'm 40 years old. I have a certain vision. I've been growing up wearing denim. And in parallel, I think about like my niece and my kids. They are very young, 14 for my niece, and my kids are like 6-year-old. And they've been growing up wearing sweatpants, stretch fabric. Even the school uniform is stretch. So whenever I give them, I buy denim for them because I love denim. I have also like vintage denim that are kid size. They're like, I don't like to wear this. This is uncomfortable. The new generation have been growing up with a totally different clothing lines than ours. So we have to think the customer of tomorrow, who's going to be the customer of tomorrow, and how can we channel a new product for them?
Yeah, it's a different relation. They have a different view, a fresh view on the product, on our product. When we talk about innovation today, what does it mean, Cara, in your role? Product, process, what's in consideration?
Product is always going to be the foundation and the raw materials, but for me in my role, it's definitely more about process. Removing friction is a huge one for me, as well as setting clear direction early on, because I think that leaves more space for creativity to actually thrive, and then we can focus on finding innovation that's scalable. And then finding innovation in product is probably the second piece of it. I'm always looking for the next thing that A, we can scale, B, repeat, and will actually resonate with the consumer.
Nice. I have a question, AUTARI, for you. We talked a little bit before, but when we were discussing yesterday, I understood that you have a very lean team organization, quite small. Do you think it's a competitive advantage that you have compared to big corporate organization can be slow in the decision and there is so many people involved, or?
Absolutely. I think Rag & Bone is a rather small company. We're like 100 people in our headquarters, so decision making is much faster because I don't have to show the new sample to 45 different person. And absolutely, there's definitely a more swift approach into that.
Right. Let's deep dive a little bit of innovation now. Let's have a look. Where are you seeing the most meaningful innovation right now in the denim industry and can make it different at scale? So not only a capsule or a small collection, but you're the professional, you see the industry every month, every week. What is very notable, each of you, if you can have a little bit turnaround, but what is very important?
I think the most disruptive thing I've been seeing, and working for Rag & Bone, we've been working on this product since like 8 years, is digital printing. I think in 20 years, this will be like a sort of baseline for every company. I think digital printing, denim, it's going to be something groundbreaking. At Rag & Bone, we started working in this technology very early, and now we develop for men, for women's, for bottoms, for tops, on different fabrics. I think, I know a lot of people in the room will be like, this is not denim, but on one part, this will be the future of denim. I think also in terms of CSR approach, corporate social responsibility, digital printing will save a lot of water. It's a very different process. What I'm seeing at Rag & Bone, we have a heavy collection in digital printing, is that this product doesn't necessarily take over a lot of sales from classic denim. There's always be a customer that will buy classic denim, but it kind of creates a totally brand new product because you can print on different fabric. The fabric can be extremely comfortable. You can print on terry fabric, on interlocks, and you kind of channel the denim aesthetic while giving an unparalleled comfort and really a different novelty.
Sportswear clashing with denim, and you have this mixed hybrid product.
Absolutely, yeah.
You were talking about your kids or nephew or whatever. Maybe they could embrace this kind of how to wear jeans or.
Exactly. We do also, we have this new line, Rag & Bone Kids, and we do printed denim, and it's a huge success because notably kids, they don't want to wear things that are uncomfortable, and so they can wear something that look like a denim and but kind of behave on their body like a jog pants.
In terms of business depth, not now, but what will be the percentage between classic denim and digital printing in your collection in the future?
I think right now for us is already something that we want to contain because we are growing very big in digital printing. So we are already at the phase where it's like, okay, let's keep working on rigids, let's keep working on selvage denim, which are sort of core fabric for the brand. But I think in the future, this is going to become more of a sort of basic product, basic line. I know in the industry it's still something that it's rather unknown or very expensive, but I think in 20 years, every brand will have a sort of a core line of printed denim.
Maybe we could continue on the same topic with Cara, because you have also an experience with digital printing. What kind of?
Yes,
Yeah?
we are currently working with a company called Lab Denim. They are fairly new. They're a little over a year old. They're doing amazing things. So they're digitally dyeing denim, and essentially it's coming out of a big printer, but it's created with bioscience technology using regenerative algae. So it's extremely sustainable. They have these massive printers that they load up with white bowl denim, and they print the backside first, completely color matching to whatever the front of the wash is going to be, and then they flip it and they print the actual pattern pieces. It's pretty amazing. I think their largest printers can print up to 2,000 jeans an hour. Don't quote me on that, but it's something incredible. So talk about speed to market, that's absolutely insane. So saving 95% water, speed to market, it's going to be a game changer for the industry for sure, and I'm hoping that this is scalable, especially for our brand. So very excited to hopefully launch with them fall of this year.
What about, because your retail price bracket are different from Rag & Bone, so
Yes.
do you have space
Yes.
to scale?
We actually, do have a more kind of sustainable line called Rare Denim, and we launched that, I think, a year and a half ago with a higher price point, and we've seen a lot of success with it. So we do feel like we have a little bit of room. It seems like especially the male customer seems to want to pay a little bit more than the younger women's side, which is interesting. So I think we have a little bit of room. And also with the storytelling of the brand, I think it's going to be incredible.
Thank you. Nikita, do you have in mind something very innovative that you saw recently, or?
Well, we are looking into printed denim, but we're not that advanced yet to really say like we can bring it to market. But we are continuing looking into, with Hugo Boss, the digital world. So we have been working, we've been testing programs for how to implement, for example, AI, 3D, all of those things into our processes. And a very interesting project that we're trying to do now is to see how can we make AI responding to the terminology from the industry, from the denim industry specifically, to start making our AIs more like that you can guarantee that what we present on AI will also be the final product. So that would skip quite some steps, especially for our carryover, NOS, or very basic styles. This would be a very handy thing, because if we then just say we go a bit darker, we can really just imitate that. We don't need a sample, because we know the fabric, we know the everything. So for us, we are looking more on the digital world on the process part.
Yeah. Thank you for my transition, because I talk about digital tools and how AI can accelerate the design process. But from your point of view, and probably you can continue with Nikita, what part of the denim collection or creation will stay with human, with people? And how you balance, so you have the tools, but what will stay, the decision making?
At the moment, I see it more the initial part where you define the fit, where you see it if it works with your fabric and your wash should still stay physical, because this is the base of everything. For me, the AI would be more how to continue that into some, like a process to be more functional, to make sure that, we want a new wash, or we just want to make it shorter, that you don't have to ask a new sample for that.
AUTARI, do you work with such tools or digital technology or development to make new finishes, or in your creative process, or you're still like
we're still like try to implement in a way that makes sense for us. I think for me it's more like a merchandising tool. Like, merchandising, how they work. They're like, oh, we love this wash, but we want to see on a different fit. And so you have to start a new samples. And then the vendor is like, oh, another sample on the same wash, what's happening? I think these tools can be used to like reduce the sampling, which is one problem of the denim industry. In terms of creativity based, I try to play around with different AI tool. I don't think it kind of nails the aesthetic that I want. And on the other side, it's kind of digital image. So if you don't have a fabric behind to explain what is the fabric, how does it drape to the body, what is if it's stretched or rigid, AI will stay as a sort of image. So,
thank you. Because I was having a conversation with a mill yesterday. I'm not going to tell who, but he's in the room. I can see him. The denim mills and the denim industry, we are still in a very analog world. It's very analog, yeah? We don't move it. So if you want to bring AI tool, or if you want to be more digital, do you think we have to digitize a lot of analog information coming from the industry, and there, with this collection data point, we can move on? Is it an effort that the industry has to do it, or it will become generally, because the process or the brand pressure will become that? What's your opinion on that? Kara, you want to try? But I think it was an interesting conversation.
Absolutely,
I never heard.
It's just that, like with the pandemic, everybody was thinking that we can work from remote and don't have to travel. I still think like denim is so important to keep like a close loop with your vendors, with your fabric mills. So whenever it comes innovation into that, sometimes I struggle to find a place, because I always want to see like the fabrics, the new things. So for me, for me it's more about how we can speed up some processes that before were taking too long, reduce the development sample, more than impact like the creativity or the starting from scratch.
No, maybe the denim mill could adopt the same technology for their own sample process to be quicker to develop and to be less
absolutely, yeah,
depending on the collection process. All right. Next question, it's a big topic. It's about collaboration. So how important is collaboration with suppliers, laundries, technology providers? Sometimes you have access also to technology providers to drive innovation. So how does it work? How this collaboration evolves? Nikita, you want to try this one?
For us, the standard answer is always it's super important. But I also learned in Hugo Boss it's even more important to start earlier. For example, if I want to develop a new fabric that I think this could be really fitting with the brand, I develop it with the mill, but I immediately also take the garment maker in the discussion, because we need to see, can this fabric work with the washing, with their means, with their tools, what they have. So the collaboration part, I completely agree with that it needs to happen, and that you even need to go further. When I go to the fairs nowadays, I take my garment maker with me, because if I see, for example, an innovation or technology that I'm interested in, we have a conversation that, for me, it sometimes sounds a bit like Chinese, but they're wash guy to wash guy. They're making an entire conversation that I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And at the end of the conversation, they come to me and say like, we can do it. It is possible. We will test immediately, and they ordered and everything, and it's so efficient. If I do this on my own, I take an innovation, then I go to internally my product developer, then I go to I check with the fabric mill. And it takes way too long, and I really like now the collaboration of really just take the people that need to know, go to the innovations, and they can ask the right questions that I don't know. That's why I think it's important.
Any opinion, Cara? Tari? Importance of collaboration?
I think it's extremely important, and at PacSun, that's where a lot of the innovation actually starts. I lean very heavily on our mills, our suppliers, and our laundries. Like, they have the advantage of being on the other side of the world and working with other brands, so they're hearing what other people are asking for first. And also just seeing what's out there sometimes before I do in LA. And also if I see something, like, hopefully we have a good enough relationship where I can just message them and say, hey, I'm seeing this. What do you know about this? Is this possible for us? And then I think just continuing to develop those relationships, like if we're going to trade shows like this, meeting people, being surrounded by other talented people, and then oftentimes I'll end up shopping around with my mills, and then making sure we're all sharing the same vision for the brand so that we can co-create something new together.
Do you still travel a lot in the factories, on the ground floor? Because I think a lot of actions happening there, but how does it work?
We do. Especially if we have a new partner, we will go see them and work with the wash technician for at least a week and make sure they're understanding what we're looking for. Some of our more established factories, we don't have to because we've been working together for so long.
So a mix of partnership and newcomer, and you try to have this mix. Yeah. For you, so you're all denim designers, leaders in the room. What mindset or skill do you think this is the most important today to stay innovative in a very fast-changing environment? So what is the skills you need to be alert, as you mentioned?
I love this question. For me, the first thing that comes to mind is curiosity. You need to want to know what's going on out there. Like, you can't just sit at your desk, sit at your office and keep going with the flow and doing what everyone's been doing. You have to want to know what else is out there, and just have a willingness to learn and not get stuck in that rut of doing the same thing that the company has been doing. So I think you really need to have that drive and that curiosity.
When I hire a new designer, for me it's all about creativity. I want to see new things, I want to see new approach. I want to see what is the approach to novelty to the young generation. And I always say that, show me what you are thinking and I'm going to help you realize it. We're going to work with the vendor and make sure that this can happen. But I think I'm been seeing like a lot of new designer profiles lately that comes with the sort of merchandising notions. And I think that can be important for certain brands, but what I want to see in a designer is like his point of view on the creative process. How can you do something that is completely new and groundbreaking?
So the best combination is to have somebody with your experience, because you know how, because it's a big industry, yeah? You need a lot of knowledge and expertise, but you need also this freshness of a new kid in the block coming in, and then you'd have this combination on how it works.
Sometimes it's just like when I speak with people, I don't want people that keep talking about NOS basics. Like Rag & Bone as a brand, our job is like bringing new things, disruptive novelties, things that feels fresh again. And when the conversation starts from NOS and basic program, core program, it always becomes like, I need something else.
A bit boring. You need more spicy.
Exactly.
Nikita, what's your thoughts?
Well, I agree with both of the point of views, but I also always like, because I have my own mind, but I like to be challenged. Like what I say, I need people to also say like, but have you tried it like this? Have you tried like that? And I think if I look always at the people that I work with, the best collaborations are the ones where we literally sit for half an hour in a room and we just brainstorm and we pile idea on idea on idea and we come to a beautiful result. And then we test. And I really just enjoy the passion for what you do. I can work with people that don't know so much, because knowledge you can always obtain, but the passion to really want to do better, it's something you have it or you don't have it. I'm sorry, that sounds really harsh, maybe for future designers, but like we working in an industry that's not the easiest, because everybody's telling us that it's the most polluting one and everything, but if you then come in the mindset of, oh yeah, we'll just pile up on the problems, no, I need to say like, we need to have the passion to want to do better. And I can really, when I interview people, I always have certain questions ready to test the passion of that. Just to understand, are they going to stand next to me and fight for what we believe in innovations?
I think in the recruiting process, guys, I mean, I work also with young generation, to have this curiosity, striving, I think is important. Personality, but also eager to learn new things. And sometimes, I don't know, it's better to look and to bet on the personality than the skills, because if they have that, they have this drive to be better. I think that's a good point. But it's not easy. Recruiting people is always the most difficult. Guys, more closing questions soon, because it's already 45 minutes. If the pressure, we started with the pressure, but if the pressure continues to increase, what will be the next wave of innovation? Will come from where? Materials, business models, it can be anything, processes, new collaborations. So how do you see that? Kara?
I think all of the above, but the biggest one for me are the new forms of collaboration. I think we already have so many really talented people in tech partnering with designers. I think that's only going to continue to grow and evolve. Amazing things are happening with all of even the softwares in AI, like Raspberry, or is it Raspberry or BlackBerry? Raspberry. So I think I'm excited to see how that grows even further in the next 5 years, and who knows what there's going to be.
For me, again, is still led to product. I think something that feels different, wears different, still channel denim in terms of look. It's something that I keep want to see, and yeah, I believe in collaboration, but I think the product has to speak for himself.
For me, I have a fascination at the moment, and I hope it's going to be pushed through, is adding elements of activewear and performance onto a denim. So you can also see your denim that not just something that you wear, but actually can maintain your lifestyle. If you are a very active lifestyle, that you can also really use it. Because honestly, if I could, I would wear my rigid denim to yoga, but I cannot. You know, but I would love to, because I remember going hiking and I tried to hike in the jeans. Not the best idea, but imagine if I would have a really cool rigid jeans that I can go hiking with. I would love these things. And what I think is very important is that you take all of these inspirations from other sectors to really come to the best denim can be.
Thank you. So functionality could become also in the denim. So it happens before, but we can push a little bit the boundaries on that. All right, guys. Yes, I was going to ask, do you have any questions? You have a question, yeah? I give you the microphone, come.
Hi, my name is Babar and I'm from Artistic Millennials. Very insightful, thank you. I just want to pick a little bit of all of you three's brain on, like we saw this in 2000, late 2000, this flat, stretchy, skinny. What we are seeing today is loose, big silhouettes, rigid and all that. How you guys see that mass going forward?
Sorry? The question, reframe it a little bit.
So the question is about the prevailing mass denim trend that we see today, especially when you talk about the Gen Zs. We see loose silhouettes, we see salt and pepper, we don't see stretch. If you go 5-10 years back, you see stretch, skinny, flat. So how do you see coming 2, 3, 5 years, what would be the best, not the best, the mass trend in denim?
That's a really good question and something we ask ourselves every single day at PacSun. We've been running the baggy jean, having a lot of success in the last year specifically. So we're like, okay, this is going off a cliff soon. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We've seen everyone is wearing the boot cut. So we've gone after that in a big way, and that fit can definitely be in stretch or rigid. But I do think it's going to cycle back to a slimmer fit. I just don't think, at least for us, stretch is going to be as huge as it was. Like, I know it's totally different from your consumer, but they're just loving the rigid so much right now. Or if it does, I think it's going to be more of the comfort stretches that have the most minimal amount of stretch. But yeah, it's a really tough question, and I'm trying to figure out the answer.
From a European perspective, must be different, no? Fits and fabrics and...
Yeah, and we have a bit of a different trend going on where for women's wear, the request actually came to have less and less stretch, which I think is quite fun for me. And then for menswear, actually they're requesting more stretch, which I thought was an interesting development. So that's from the European point of view.
Thank you. Any more questions? Ah, yes.
Hi, I'm Beza, I'm from HMS. I wanted to ask you guys, you all mentioned some stuff about printed denim and how you're working on it or you have already worked on it. I don't know if you already put it on the market or are you planning on it? Have you put it on the market already? Oh, you have? Okay, cool. I wanted to ask, how did your customers respond? Were they popular? Because when I think of denim, it's inherently unique to each customer, and you know, when you stonewash it, it's random. Each pair of jeans is unique, and also people, you know, get fades on it after wearing it for a while. So I feel like, I don't know, like, is it successful?
This is very interesting because you have exactly the point of view of someone that works in the industry. So me too, I'm thinking about the fading, how my denim is gonna wash, how the wash is gonna evolve wearing every day. Younger generation, they probably don't even care about it. They just want to nail an aesthetic, and that's what their point of their approach, or they want comfort. And I can't, of course, unveil like business models and everything, but printed denim for us is successful. I think especially women's are more lean into buying into this product. Sometimes they even buy for the husband, because I think women's have a different approach. It's much more like style-based. I think men's are more like they're not necessarily buying less, but they're less curious about it. So because there's definitely something different in the way it drapes, in the way it works on your body, and the fabrics, especially the fabric we are using right now for rag and bone, are very unexpected. So men's are a bit more conservative in the approach. Women's, it's already like a huge, huge success for us.
I don't know. The company that I mentioned, so they actually can control the color fastness. So the way the dye takes the fabric, it actually wears like natural indigo does. So we can control that aspect, but I do agree that the consumer, the younger generation, most likely does not care, and they're not even thinking about when they're buying a pair of jeans, what's this gonna look like in 5 years? Will they even have it in 5 years? I don't know. For Gen Z, everything seems to feel so much more disposable now. I'm hoping that with Gen Alpha, we see a little bit more of a return to slower fashion. I don't know about Gen Z though.
Thank you. Any more question? No question from the Denim Mills? No? Johan, that would be nice, no? You don't want? All right. Thanks for the audience. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the amazing people here in the panelists. Bravo. Have a good day.